Welcome to the Maier Files podcast, unveiling hidden realities.
Hey there, and welcome back to Maier Files Chronicles. So, if you've been with us on this adventure, you know that things have gotten pretty wild. What began as a simple historical mystery now feels like something more than just a story. It's like something from the past is reaching out to us. In tonight's episode, we'll dive into the world of electromagnetic manipulation and how it's been misused, starting with Otto Maier's magnetic room and moving all the way to modern-day military weather control. The stuff we're going to talk about is real. It's been documented, patented, and sometimes even declassified. But just because it's out there doesn't mean everyone knows about it.
And some things are hidden in plain sight.
Yeah. And some things, some people were ahead of their time.
Before we go deeper into Otto Maier's experiments, I want to talk about something else.
You mean, why so many German researchers seem to be operating on another level?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Here's the thing. While other countries were sticking to the academic consensus, German scientists in the early 1900s were breaking all the rules. They weren't afraid to challenge the boundaries of known science, and in some cases, they weren't just decades ahead. They were a full century ahead. Let's go through a few names, because once you hear the pattern, it's impossible to ignore. And just to name a few, the list seems endless. Walter Gerlach, Hilgenberg, Oskar Groß, Karl Nowak, Otto Hahn, Burkhard Heim, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, Otto Maier, and the names go on and on. There's Walter Gerlach, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist. In 1924, he wrote an article in the Frankfurter Zeitung about producing gold from mercury. And no, not by nuclear fission. This was before neutron bombardment was even theorized. Gerlach was thinking in terms of electromagnetic and radioactive stress. Und hier ist etwas Interessantes. He won the Nobel Prize for his 1921 experiment on magnetic resonance and electron spin. One of his students was Hilgenberg, the scientist who came up with the expanding Earth theory, and Nowak worked on a super explosive. But here's the twist. It wasn't based on conventional nuclear fission or thermonuclear fusion. Instead, it involved super dense matter, something way beyond what was known at the time. Oskar Groß, he ran a factory using prototypical laser isotope separation and mass spectrography. Get this. This means he was refining materials at a level that wouldn't officially exist for another 50 years. Then, Otto Hahn, the man who officially discovered nuclear fission, but Hahn himself wasn't sure how it worked at first. Why? Because others, like Gerlach, were already thinking beyond it. And of course, Burkhard Heim, a name you almost never hear. But listen to this. Heim deduced that we live in a six-dimensional world. He wasn't a science fiction writer, he was a physicist. His work suggests that what we call reality might just be the visible part of a larger hidden structure. And Otto Maier? He fits right in with this pattern.
A man who wasn't just an engineer, but something else. Someone who seemed to be working outside of time.
Ja, genau. Look at his research. He wasn't following the physics of his era. He was tapping into something older, a hidden science buried under layers of secrecy and misdirection.
All right. So we've established that Otto Maier wasn't just an engineer. He was dealing with something much deeper. But here's my question. What exactly was he trying to manipulate?
The easy answer? Electromagnetic fields.
Yeah, but it's not that simple. Look at his notes, Pat. He wasn't just interested in how fields worked. He was obsessed with what they could do to reality itself.
You mean perception?
Perception, time, maybe even the structure of reality itself.
Okay, let's start with something easy. Have you ever been close to an old tube television when it's turned on? Even if the sound is off, you can still feel it, right? It's like a weird pressure in your head or a strange tension in the air.
Ha, wie das Gefühl im Magnetraum. Like that feeling in the magnetic room.
Exactly. That's the body reacting to an electromagnetic field. Now imagine something on a much bigger scale. In 1952, the Schumann resonance was discovered, showing that Earth has a natural frequency of 7.83 Hertz. That's the same range as human brainwaves.
So you're saying human consciousness and electromagnetic fields are somehow connected?
Ja. And that's where it gets really strange. You see, this isn't just theory. We have actual reports, real anomalies, things that shouldn't happen but did. And the deeper you look, the more you realize. Someone's been playing with this for a long time. Take the Soviets in the 1960s. They were experimenting with low-frequency fields, and what they found was disturbing. People exposed to the right frequencies didn't just feel a little dizzy or uncomfortable. No. Some of them started hearing voices. But here's the thing. These weren't sounds coming through their ears. They were inside their heads. And then there's this case from 1983. A geophysicist in Moscow was working on something completely unrelated, mapping underground mineral deposits. By accident, he created a resonance field in his lab, just a small fluctuation in the electromagnetic environment. And suddenly, the scientists inside, they experienced time distortion, like time slowed down. Or maybe their perception of time changed. But either way, when they left the field, the clocks outside didn't match what they remembered inside. Officially, they blamed faulty equipment, but some of those researchers, they never went back to work. Then, fast forward to the 1990s. The US military finally declassified some of their electromagnetic research, and guess what? They were deliberately inducing hallucinations using pulsed electromagnetic fields.
Wait, on people?
Ja, they weren't just studying fields, they were testing how they could change perception. So, when we talk about Otto Maier's magnetic room, the strange hallucinations, voices, distortions, you have to wonder, was he just ahead of his time, or was he tapping into something that was always there? And that's where this gets even bigger. Because if electromagnetic fields can influence perception, then what happens when you start manipulating the sky itself?
You mean weather modification?
Yes. And that's exactly where we're going next.
All right, so let's say everything we've talked about so far is real. Electromagnetic fields can affect perception. They can even distort time. That alone is enough to rewrite how we think about science. But the question is, what happens when you go bigger? When you stop experimenting on just people and start experimenting on the planet itself?
See? This is the part where most people start shaking their heads. No way, that's science fiction. But the truth? It's not just real, it's documented policy. Let's start with this. In 1996, the US Air Force released a report called Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. Now just listen to that title for a second. They weren't thinking about weather modification. They were planning for it.
And what exactly did they mean by owning the weather?
Well, think of it like this. Imagine you're a general planning a military operation. What's one of the biggest variables you can't control?
The weather.
Exactly. Storms, droughts, hurricanes, they dictate battles, supply chains, even entire wars. But what if you could control them? Just redirect a storm to flood an enemy city, or trigger droughts to destabilize an economy, even create artificial cloud cover to block satellite surveillance. And the craziest part? This isn't just theoretical. They've already done it. Let me take you back to Vietnam, 1967. The US military launched something called Operation Popeye. And no, it wasn't about spinach. This was a classified mission to extend the monsoon season over enemy supply routes by cloud seeding.
Wait, cloud seeding?
Ja. Spraying particles like silver iodide, into clouds to force them to produce rain. And guess what? It worked. For 5 years, they intentionally increased rainfall over Vietnam to flood enemy paths, wash away roads, make movement impossible. The official military slogan was, get this, making mud, not war.
And that was in the 1960s.
Now imagine what they're capable of today. That's where HAARP comes in.
All right. So let's talk HAARP. We've all heard the theories. What's the reality?
Okay. First thing you need to understand, HAARP is real. It's not a conspiracy theory. The facility exists, the technology exists, the patents exist. So, officially, it's a high-frequency radio transmitter in Alaska designed to study the ionosphere. And unofficially, it's the most powerful atmospheric weapon ever built.
How?
By pulsing radio waves into the ionosphere. Now imagine the ionosphere is like the top layer of a drum, a thin but powerful shell of electrically charged particles surrounding the Earth. If you hit a drum in the right place with the right force, you can make it vibrate in ways that change its sound. Well, HAARP does the same thing, except instead of sound, it's energy.
And what happens when you make the ionosphere vibrate?
You change everything below it. You can redirect jet streams, altering storm patterns, or you can push hurricanes off their natural paths. Even disrupt global weather cycles, turning normal seasons into droughts or floods. And because weather is a chaotic system, small changes at high altitude can cause massive events below. This is chaos theory. The butterfly effect. A single pulse, timed just right, can create a chain reaction that spirals into a hurricane, a heat wave, even a climate shift. And HAARP? It's the most powerful butterfly ever created.
And the big question, are we already seeing this in action?
Let's just say, when you start looking at the data, you notice something, a pattern. Take Haiti, 2010. A devastating 7.0 earthquake out of nowhere. But here's the thing. Satellites picked up ionospheric anomalies just hours before it hit. That's not normal. And then there's Sichuan, 2008, a massive quake that killed nearly 90,000 people. In the days leading up to it, Chinese scientists detected strange electromagnetic fluctuations in the atmosphere. Like something was interfering with the natural balance. And it's not just earthquakes. Look at Hurricane Katrina, one of the most destructive storms in history. Some researchers believe its path wasn't entirely natural, that it may have been steered or at least enhanced by artificial means. And here's where it gets even crazier. It's not just the US playing with this technology. Russia and China have been building their own HAARP-like facilities. Massive ionospheric heaters just like the one in Alaska.
Like an arms race?
Ja, but not with missiles, not with fighter jets. This war, it's not happening on the ground. It's happening above our heads.
So, what does this have to do with Otto Maier?
For me, everything. Maier's magnetic room, his electromagnetic chamber, it wasn't just about energy. It was about frequencies affecting the human mind.
Like the voices I heard in that recording.
Exactly. This is where it gets dark. HAARP and other military projects aren't just playing with weather. They're experimenting on human perception.
You're talking about frequency following response?
Indeed. The human brain operates at specific frequencies, theta waves, delta waves, alpha waves. If you pulse a frequency at just the right rate, the brain syncs to it, whether you want it to or not.
You mean thoughts, emotions, hallucinations?
All of it. And this isn't a theory, Pat. This is documented military research. In the 1980s, Dr. Michael Persinger proved that weak electromagnetic fields could induce religious experiences, hallucinations, paranoia, even the sensation of a presence in the room. People believed they were seeing angels, demons, ghosts, but it was just frequencies affecting the brain. Then there's MK Ultra, the CIA's infamous mind control program, they weren't just testing drugs. They experimented with radio waves, seeing if they could influence behavior, thoughts, even emotions remotely. And here's where it ties back to HAARP. Its signals operate right inside the range of human brainwaves.
So what are you saying? That Otto Maier was decades ahead of his time?
Or he was tapping into something that was always there.
Lena, you found something. Otto Maier's notes. What do they say?
They talk about the Mother Wave Machine, a device designed to amplify the natural resonance. Ein Gerät, das die natürliche Resonanz verstärken soll. And then something else. Maier describes an external signal, something that wasn't coming from the room, but from outside of it.
A transmission?
Or a response.
Pat, I think that's what we heard.
The recording? The voice?
Yes, my voice in the recordings.
Maybe Otto Maier wasn't just sending signals. Maybe he was receiving them.
We need to stop here. But before we do, final thoughts?
The military has been manipulating electromagnetic fields for decades, for control, for weapons, for experiments we can't even imagine. Otto Maier, he was trying to understand something fundamental, something buried deep in physics, in the mind, in reality itself. And now we have to ask, was he on the edge of a discovery? Or was he just the first casualty?
Maybe we were never supposed to find this. Du solltest das finden. Du solltest das finden.
As we close the pages of the Maier Chronicles, we want to express our deepest gratitude for joining us on this journey into the mysterious and the unknown. If you've been captivated by the enigma, share the intrigue with fellow seekers and leave no stone unturned. Subscribe, rate, and leave your thoughts to keep the conversation alive. Until our next unveiling, may the secrets of the Maier Files continue to inspire curiosity and spark your imagination. And never stop seeking the truth.